Hi everyone. It's like the fifth time I've done this video, so hopefully this time it actually works. So I'm hoping to be able to share my screen in the background for you and hoping it'll switch between things, but we'll see how it goes. All right, so what we're doing here today is you're gonna have this assignment today about air masses. You're gonna have three different things on there. I'm gonna try to click over to see if it will show you. Hopefully it is showing you on this one what this looks like. So you're gonna have this video that I'm making right now. You're gonna need to read over the notes. Read the article, and then answer the questions on the document. So here are the notes that you're going to need to read. This is just notes on air masses. You're going to need to read through those. Then you're going to go through here, and you're going to read this article here, and then answer these questions. This is 2 pages, and you need to answer all the questions on this document here. So we're going to talk a little bit about the notes, specifically what are air masses. So air masses are just large bodies of air. So they form when air over a large region sits in one place for a long period of time. So say there's a large body of air over Sycamore for like 2 days, they would call that an air mass. It takes on the characteristics of the land or the water below it. So if it's over land, it's going to take on those characteristics. It's either going to be like dry and cool, dry and warm, something like that. If it's over water, it will be wet, moist and cool, or moist and warm. So depending on where it's at. Air masses, the next question here, it says, do air masses affect our weather? Yes, they absolutely do. Those different air masses change our weather as they move through. It brings so if it's over, say, a polar region, obviously the air is cooler. So if it comes down, like they say, those polar vortexes, that would obviously change our weather here. We know that. We've had that happen several times. In the wintertime, so that's what happens. So it will bring that colder weather with it. So it will affect our weather. We're noticing that now. There's like air masses that are moving through. We had really nice weather at the beginning of last week. It turned a lot colder, and it's definitely colder today. It was snowing a little bit earlier today here. I'm not sure about there in Sycamore, but here in Salmonac it was snowing. 2 characteristics that describe air masses. It's moisture and then temperature. Those are the 2 different things that we use to describe them. So we, when describing moisture, what words do we use for that? We use either continental or maritime. So continental means over land. So when we talk about air that's over land, we talk about continental air masses over land. Or we talk about, if they're over water, we talk about air masses that are maritime or over water areas. So continental just means that it's dry air. Obviously, land is generally dry, so we say that that's dry. If we say that it's maritime, it's moist because water is moist. So we would say that that would be moist. There are a couple other words that we use when we're describing temperature. So temperature, we would say tropical, which is by the equator. So as you guys know, if you remember back to when we did seasons, we talked about how the earth is tilted 23.5 degrees. So then the equator is always the part that's closest to the sun. So sun coming down, so it's like this. So we've got this tilt. I'll go ahead and grab my globe here. It's a little close, but hopefully you guys can see it. So tilt. So the equator right here, always closest to the sun, right? No matter what, because we're tilted and it's the big bulgy part of the earth. Okay? You got that. So that would be tropical. So that would be warm air. So if it's continental, it would be a continental tropical. That would be warm, dry air. If it's continental maritime, that would be warm, moist air. And then we have polar, because we know those poles are always farthest from the sun, so they're always colder than the other places on the earth. So we would say if it's a continental polar, that would be dry, cold air. And if it was maritime polar, it would be moist, cold air. So those are those 4 major air masses. So these are the words that are probably the most significant to you in these notes. Continental meaning land, maritime meaning water, knowing that continental is dry, maritime is moist. Tropical, meaning closer to the equator, that's warm, and then polar, meaning, by the poles, which is cold. So you have those 4 different masses, which I had already just talked about: maritime tropical, continental tropical, maritime polar, and continental polar. Winds, as I talked about in yesterday's video, we talked about winds, how the rotation of the earth and the temperature of the air kind of determines where those winds go. I'm going to do another video for you guys, as I told you before, on convection currents. I'm going to talk to you more about those global winds. I'm going to have a different picture up here for you about those global winds, that Coriolis effect, which determines which direction that the winds blow in. But we talk about those global winds. That's how those air masses move from those global winds and jet streams. When we're talking about jet streams, we're not talking about things like from a jet, or that's called a contrail. So that's a little bit different. Kind of makes that cloud in the sky. That's not a jet stream per se, is what we're talking about with winds. Okay. As air masses move, obviously this changes. I do want you guys to note that these are 3 pages long. Please don't worry about the next 2 pages of this. Again, I apologize, but the way the PDF was uploaded, it's uploaded this way. And my printer here at home doesn't have a good quality, so I didn't want to like rescan it in for you and have it be not the best quality for you so that you can't see it. So just disregard the last 2 pages on the notes. This is the page where you're going to need to answer the questions. So this will be where you'll read that article, look through this again, talks about the continental polar, maritime polar, continental tropical, and maritime tropical again. So if you guys have any questions, you can certainly email me, or you can email your science teacher. If there's anything at all that you need, or anything like that, just go ahead and let me know. I hope you guys are all doing well, and that you enjoyed today's video. So take care.